Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show. My name is Cam Rogers. It is Wednesday, October 17th, 2018. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Jam-packed show for you guys. NFL rumors, college football mock playoff rankings, and so much more. Dez Bryant, the latest on him, of course, as well. So let's get into those NFL headlines today, and we will kick things off with Devonta Freeman. So for you Falcons fans / fantasy gamers out there, Devonta Freeman is reportedly done for the year and has been placed on IR. The bad injury luck continues here for the Atlanta Falcons. Dan Quinn has already said that Freeman is likely out for Week 7, so that's not good news. Jay Glazer is reporting that Freeman will go on IR, effectively ending his season. Now, I will note that Freeman would be eligible to play on December 23rd. But the other thing is the Falcons could be out of contention by that point, and if Freeman is not even 100% by that point, they won't play him. So insert Tevin Coleman, insert Ito Smith. If you're a fantasy player out there, hopefully you got Ito Smith on your waiver wire and onto your team. So the Falcons, in terms of all these injuries, lost Ricardo Allen, Deion Jones, Andy Levitre, solid guard there, Kenu Neal, the safety, all on IR. Bad news for the Atlanta Falcons. Not great timing for the Falcons and Freeman in particular here, because Freeman signed a 6-year, $43 million deal in 2017. So obviously the Falcons are not getting that return on investment. Want to give a shout out to a YouTube commenter, OBS KJ. Yo, Cam. Yo, what up? Thanks for watching the show. Speaking of Tevin Coleman, on FanDuel this week, he's pretty cheap, $6,300. The Falcons are playing the Giants this week on Monday Night Football. Tevin Coleman averaging 10.2 fantasy points per game. Expect a large workload for Coleman, although Ito Smith will be part of the equation as well. But we're talking about a Giants team that is more of a circus than a football squad right now. So if you want to perhaps get some good value on FanDuel this week, Tevin Coleman is a good play, $6,300. You can sign up at FanDuel.com/chatsports. When you deposit $5, you get $20 for free. You got to use that link at the bottom of your screen, though, FanDuel.com/chatsports. You can tell them that the Cam Rogers Show sent you. All right, let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. and more specifically what the owner, John Mara, said. Now, first of all, Odell Beckham has been in the spotlight for mostly the wrong reasons so far this year, and John Mara was asked about it. He first offered his concern for the team in general, and he's still defending Eli Manning, of course, saying that he'd leave it to the coaching staff if Eli should be benched. But John Mara said of Odell Beckham Jr., nothing too pleasant. In fact, he had some pretty stern words for one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL who's not having a bad season by any means. But here is what John Mara said. Quote, "I think he needs to do a little more playing and a little less talking." Now, this is probably in reference to Odell Beckham Jr. doing an exclusive interview with ESPN on his off day on a Tuesday, in which the New York Giants had no idea about. And from that perspective, I understand why the Giants may be frustrated with Odell Beckham Jr. not telling the organization that he is going through an interview with ESPN and all of this stuff. Usually players, when they get interview requests, have to go through the media department, right? So usually it goes media department within the team, and then the player himself. In this case, it was OBJ to ESPN. There was no middleman here. And so I guess you could say that there was some frustration within the Giants organization. The Giants are 1-5, guys. And like I've said, they've just been a reality show at this point. And you have the Giants, they have a couple of good bright spots, especially the rookies. Saquon Barkley and Will Hernandez at guard is playing well as well. But the question is, should the Giants have drafted a quarterback? Because everybody is jumping on Eli Manning here, saying that he is not getting the job done. We're seeing comments flowing in, type 1 for yes, 2 for no, if the Giants should have drafted a quarterback. i.e. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, something of that sort. Obviously, it couldn't have been Baker Mayfield. He went number 1 overall. Here's what I'll say about the Giants. They're just bland on offense. They don't have any playmaking ability on defense. And Eli Manning, albeit he's not the only issue, is holding this team back. And I have said before, maybe the Giants should look at, signing Colin Kaepernick, bring him in for a workout at the very least, see what he can do. Maybe he can bring some sort of spark to the Giants. Talking about another quarterback here, Derek Carr. Is he out in Oakland for 2019? Guys, there's increased buzz out there in Oakland that Jon Gruden is holding nobody safe within this franchise. And look, it makes sense. Just call up Khalil Mack. He can tell you all about that. And now the arrow is pointing at Derek Carr. And the question is, could he be done with the Raiders after 2018? Well, from a monetary standpoint, it makes sense. The Raiders can save $15 million in cap room by cutting Carr after the season. That is a compelling number. And there is something wrong with Derek Carr. You saw it last week against Seattle. Carr averaged just 3.6 passing yards per dropback against the Seahawks. And we're not talking about the 2014 Seattle Seahawks. We're talking about the 2018 middle-of-the-pack Seattle Seahawks with a secondary that is good but not great. Carr attempted just 1 pass in that game that traveled more than 8 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. He didn't challenge Seattle at all. And despite possessing the league's second highest completion percentage, 71.7, Carr ranks 29th in yards per completion average. Now, the argument is, well, what about the offensive line? What about the lack of run game? I'll present you guys with this argument. And by the way, I'm one of the bigger Derek Carr truthers out there. I like this kid. I think he's talented. But how about this? Derek Carr's average depth of targets from a clean pocket, against Seattle was 2.7. That is a league low. So even when Derek Carr has pass protection, he's not creating any plays down the field. And let's face it, it's been 10 years since Jon Gruden coached. And 2018, I guess, is the revamp of his career in that sense. He's not a polished coach. He's not, a guy that knows how to do the canned answers and has that, politician speak in a way. He says what's on his mind, and you look in the data here, if you will, of all his quotes about Derek Carr back in week 1. Jon Gruden questioned Derek Carr's decision-making, openly wondered later that month if he was, quote, trying too hard, and recently noting to the media that Carr, quote, presses at some moments. Look, I understand that you can't be a player's buddy and all that. You got to be a coach, and that's priority number 1. But going ahead and publicly criticizing your quarterback probably is not the best way to go about things. With Jon Gruden, you just never know. I mean, we could see a scenario after the 2018 season is over that Derek Carr gets cut and the Raiders perhaps look for a quarterback in the NFL draft. By the way, a 2019 NFL draft that is not exactly rich at the quarterback position. So Derek Carr's future in Oakland very much up in the air, and I'm not just saying that because, well, the Raiders are moving from Oakland to Las Vegas. I'm saying that because Jon Gruden may give this guy the axe. So we'll see what happens going forward. I'll wrap up with saying this. Big fan of Derek Carr. I think he has an immense amount of talent. We saw it in 2016. So some team out there is going to want him. How about this? The New York Giants, NJ.com, recently wrote a piece saying that the Giants should replace Eli Manning with Derek Carr. Now, I touched upon Eli Manning earlier in this program. He is part of the problem for the New York Giants, but it's not just Manning. It's the offensive line outside of Will Hernandez, the rookie guard. Not very good. It's the drama from Odell Beckham Jr. It's the defense that can't create turnovers at all. They're one of the worst in the league in creating turnovers. And they have some pretty good pedigree in that secondary, namely Janoris Jenkins. So I guess you could say the situation with the Giants is very similar to the situation with the Oakland Raiders, right? Struggling offensive line. hapless defense, no pass rush, and basically a laughingstock. Because last week, for Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders, they were a laughingstock against the Seattle Seahawks. Same can be said last week for the New York Giants when they got embarrassed in East Rutherford, New Jersey on Thursday Night Football against their NFC East rival Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Carr has more upside than Eli at this point, but I think this seems like a pipe dream. Now, this article is saying that maybe the Giants can pull off a trade for Derek Carr. That just seems like the ultimate fantasy. 2018/2019 free agency, more like 2019 to be honest. Maybe that could happen if the Raiders decide to cut Derek Carr. Now, there is some connection for the Giants and the Carr family. You may recall David Carr was once Eli Manning's backup, so perhaps David can give Derek some thoughts on this. And you look at the offense for the Giants, Pat Shurmur prioritizes completion percentage in his offense, but he also hates turnovers more than really any other coach out there. Carr has 8 interceptions that ties for the lead in the NFL with Case Keenum. So would Carr fix things for the Giants? No. Could he help? Maybe. But the Giants would likely have to facilitate a trade to make it happen because, envisioning Derek Carr being cut seems unlikely. Honestly, this entire rumor out there from NJ.com seems unlikely. I think the Giants eventually are going to draft a quarterback. I just don't see them somehow getting Derek Carr via a trade or what have you. And oh, by the way, even if they do get Derek Carr, what do you do with Eli Manning? Do you cut him? Do you make him the backup? I mean, we're talking about a 2-time Super Bowl winner, Eli Manning. So a lot up in the air in regards to Derek Carr as we go forward. That is the main takeaway point here for you guys watching the program. Hey, want to give a shout out to Mizzen and Main. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. You can get a Mizzen and Main dress shirt at comfortable.af. Definitely check it out, guys. They're perfect for all that sort of style out there in the world because I'm telling you, the ladies love them. No ironing needed, no dry cleaning needed. It's a beautiful thing. Mizzen and Main, the way to go. All right, let's talk about the draft real quick because Nick Bosa announced he is withdrawing from Ohio State, turning his focus to the 2019 NFL Draft. Now, Bosa has been out since suffering an abdominal injury on September 15th versus TCU. Nick's mom once had hoped Bosa would play for the Buckeyes sometime in November, but that appears to no longer be a reality. Now, Bosa was the 2017 Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year, did have 4 sacks and only a few games played for the Buckeyes so far. Obviously will be a highly coveted draft prospect once the 2019 edition comes around. I mean, we're talking about a premier pass rusher in a league that is the NFL that highly prioritizes pass rushing these days because of the way in which passing is just up the wazoo these days and scoring is up the wazoo and good quarterback play and all that stuff. So Nick Bosa making the right decision, in my opinion, to focus on his health, focus on his future, and then go from there. I think the Ohio State Buckeyes will be okay without him. They're looking pretty good so far this season, and I think they will make the college football playoffs. So Nick Bosa making the right choice there for the longevity of his NFL/football career. All right, let's talk about Josh Allen. Speaking of injuries, he could be out multiple weeks. He's not playing this week. There is concern that he could miss more. Allen left the Week 6 contest against the Houston Texans with an elbow injury, and it's actually the same injury that Marcus Mariota had a couple of weeks ago, which led him to miss a couple of games for the Tennessee Titans. Now, after Josh Allen, you got Derek Anderson, who is the career journeyman at quarterback at this point, and Nathan Peterman, who is captain interception. So the choices after Josh Allen aren't all that enticing, and this is just my weekly tangent of saying the Buffalo Bills should not have traded A.J. McCarron. They are crazy for doing that. I totally disagree with that decision. I never thought Josh Allen was ready to play in 2018. He's way too raw. He's not prepared to be an NFL quarterback yet. He should have learned under A.J. McCarron. But here we are. McCarron gets traded to the Raiders, And Josh Allen gets ushered into the fray here behind a bad offensive line for the Buffalo Bills. So Sean McDermott said that Allen is week to week. Adam Schefter reported Allen injured the UCL in his throwing elbow. The Bills did seek a second opinion. Overall, very much up in the air in terms of the long-term prognostications here for Josh Allen. But for the Buffalo Bills here, obviously they want Allen to be 100%. That is priority number one. We're talking about a team that is not going anywhere in terms of the playoffs. So play it safe. This is your franchise quarterback, you would think, after all. So we'll see what happens going forward. But it looks like Allen will be out for a few weeks. All right, let's talk about Dez Bryant, particularly what Michael Irvin recently said on NFL Network. All right, folks. Irvin, of course, is a personality at this point. He is on NFL Network quite routinely, and he is saying that the Cowboys should bring back Dez Bryant. He's been chiming in about the Dez Bryant sweepstakes for quite some time, and Irvin said the following, quote, "The job of the GM of the Dallas Cowboys is to find the best wide receiver available. His name happens to be Dez Bryant." Now, if you look at that quote in a vacuum, I actually wouldn't disagree with one of the premier wide receivers in NFL history. But then Irvin went on to say that the Cowboys and Dez both need each other. Now, Dez has recently said that his preference is to return to Dallas, which is very interesting in my eyes, and probably the ultimate full circle moment. But it's a moment that I don't think will actually happen. Now, Dez has indicated before that he is signing, quote, soon. And I'll be honest with you guys, I have talked about Dez Bryant so many times on the Cam Rogers show, I'm almost getting Dez Bryant fatigue. Because I just want this guy to sign with an NFL team so this all can be over with. And we're at that point where I'm wondering if Dez is going to sign at all this season. And that's why I'm asking you guys right here, right now. Will Dez play on an NFL team this year? Type away, 3 for yes, 4 for no. Submit your votes here on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live. We're in mid-October, and Dez has not visited an NFL team since the Cleveland Browns. And you really do have to wonder if he's going to sign at all. I have my doubts at this point. Now, you all know, if you are a loyal watcher of the show, that I have been saying Dez Bryant and the New England Patriots make the most sense. They belong together. But if you look at the last 2 games for New England, they look pretty darn good, and certainly look like a team that does not need Dez Bryant as we stand after dismantling the Colts on Thursday Night Football, and then after that, scoring a ton of points against the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you're talking about offense, it doesn't look like New England needs much help. Now, with that said, Dez Bryant would make the Patriots better, in my opinion. And if you take a look at these stats here, especially from 2014, I mean, that's the kind of ceiling you can get from Dez. I'm not saying he's going to replicate those numbers, but I think 2017, 2016, bit of an anomaly, if you will. So, look, Dez Bryant is trying to get his mind right. He's trying to get his body right. He's trying to get prepared for the NFL, and I get that. He said he was dealing with anxiety, depression, all of that, and power to Dez Bryant to go ahead and get all of that cemented, figured out, and then prepare for an NFL team. But like I said, we're close to Halloween, and Dez Bryant has not made any buzz about a particular team that he wants to play for. Now, or at least recently, I should say. Now, the odds for Dez Bryant, they got the Patriots, BetDSI does, as the favorite outside of the field, of course. Seattle is there. The Cowboys are there as well. The Houston Texans check in at plus 835. You guys can bet on these odds, by the way, at chatsports.com/bet. My promo code is CAM120 at the bottom of your screen. Use that code for a 120% deposit bonus. Okay, philosophical question for you guys. You're a general manager. All right, go ahead, pretend. You're a GM, you're John Lynch, you're Nick Caserio, you're whatever. Would you sign Dez Bryant to your team? Okay, it's October 17th, 2018. You're a GM of the whatever team you want to be. And I'm asking you this. Are you signing Dez Bryant? You know what? I'll even mend and change that question there. Would you even bring him in for a workout just to see what he can do? Not even sign. So go ahead, let me know in the comments section what you think about Dez Bryant. Here's what I'll say. I do hope he signs with a team. I want to see Dez Bryant play in the NFL. This is from a regular NFL perspective, just entertainment perspective. I want to see Dez Bryant catching footballs, catching touchdowns. But like I also said, I'm having doubts if he will be on a team this year. He rejected a Baltimore Ravens multi-year deal 3 months ago, it seems. He almost signed with the Cleveland Browns on a one-year deal, but apparently things fell apart. So here we are wondering if Dez Bryant is going to sign with a team this year, and I just don't know if he will. Hey, folks, want to give a shout-out here to BetDSI because they are helping me host my own NFL Pick'em game. Very simple to sign up, guys. I want you DMing me on Twitter. The sign-up is for free on BetDSI, and if you win my NFL Pick'em game, I am giving you $25 right out of my back pocket. So, simple. DM me on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. We'll post the link in the comments section as well. I'll give you the directions to sign up for my game, and boom, you will be able to compete in my NFL Pick'em against the spread game. Very exciting, guys, so go ahead and get it done. All right, let's talk about Jason Garrett. Is an extension coming? Cowboys.com writer said, well, it could be soon. Jason Garrett signed a 5-year extension in January of 2015, which means he still has a couple years left on this current deal, if my math is correct. So the Cowboys insider is Jeff Sullivan. So he writes for Cowboys.com. You should give this guy some credibility here, no doubt. Now, Dallas has a 70-56 record in his 8+ years in charge and have made the playoffs just twice during that time. But let me say this. If Dallas continues to win, and they have looked good recently, Jerry Jones may feel compelled to give Jason Garrett an extension. I don't know what's going on in Jerry's mind. Now, my opinion would be let the season ride out and see what happens, because the reality is Dallas is still very much a middle-of-the-pack team, in my opinion. I'm not quite sure who's going to win the NFC East, but it's not like I am just putting all my eggs in one basket and saying Dallas is going to win this division, because Philadelphia certainly could. Washington certainly could as well, especially with the way in which Washington looked against Carolina, beating a Carolina Panthers team that could be in the playoff discussion this year. So I think it's too early for extension discussion with Jason Garrett, especially when, 3 weeks ago, Cowboys fans out there were saying, get this guy out of here, fire the clapper, as they say. So for Jason Garrett, I'm actually a big fan of him. I like the clapping. I think if I was an NFL player, I'd want to play for Jason Garrett. He's a cool guy, would love to have a beer with him. But, the NFL is a cruel world sometimes in terms of firing head coaches, and maybe Garrett could be fired by the end of the year. It's so funny because we've talked about before how Jason Garrett could be gone from the Dallas Cowboys, but now we're hearing about a possible extension. It's just so funny to me how, you can have these differential in reporting out there about rumors and whatnot in terms of the future of a head coach. And for Jason Garrett, we're seeing the full-on spectrum. Fired this year, because on BetDSI, he was actually the favorite to be the first coach fired during the regular season, or an extension. So we'll see what happens going forward. I will say this. I think Dallas will be in the playoff discussion, but they also could just kind of fall into this NFC East, pile of mediocrity, finish 8-8, 9-7. Garrett has to make the playoffs. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I think the Cowboys can do it. So we'll see what happens. Let's talk about Le'Veon Bell. What's the latest on him? Well, he has yet to show up to the Steelers, and he's not expected to during this bye week here, despite the previous reporting out there from Jeremy Fowler, who talked to Le'Veon Bell. Now, according to Adam Schefter, the next target date is October 22nd, as the Steelers prepare to take on the Cleveland Browns. Now, Jason La Canfora has been on top of this Le'Veon Bell drama for quite some time. He reported that the Steelers haven't heard from Bell and that there is some belief he may wait until after the trade deadline on Halloween Eve, October 30th. So here is my thought process in terms of Le'Veon Bell. He has until week 10 to accrue a full season under contract, right? Maybe he wants to get traded. Maybe he waits it out and sees if the Steelers are bluffing, honestly, in terms of all these trade rumors out there. So if you wait for the deadline and get traded, great, you're free. You're on a new team, fresh start, all that good stuff. Maybe that new team signs you to a long-term deal and all is happy and merry. If not, well, at least you tried. And so then you can return to the Pittsburgh Steelers, accrue your full season under contract, and then waltz into free agency in 2019 and then cash out with the likes of the 49ers, maybe the Jets, the Colts, whatever the case may be. So regardless, I will say, and I know you guys are going to comment about this, yes, Le'Veon Bell needs to sign his franchise tender first before any trade can happen. But if the Steelers say, hey, Le'Veon, we have a trade partner, Le'Veon will be like, okay, cool. Hangs up the phone, goes into the Steelers facilities, and signs that tender. I mean, that's how simple it would be. And then the trade would go down officially. Now, I know that relationships can be patched up, especially in the event of a common goal, which in this case would be winning, right? But what the Steelers and Bell have been going through is a bit bizarre and honestly unprecedented. I mean, offensive linemen calling out Le'Veon Bell publicly? That's stunning to me, and something that, honestly, I have never seen in my history of following the NFL. I mean, I'm sure there has been internal conflict between a locker room and a singular player in terms of holding out, but in terms of public type of statements, I don't know if this relationship can be patched up, guys. So, Le'Veon Bell should be returning to the Steelers at some point, according to the reporting out there, but he also could be traded. So stay tuned on the latest with Bell.